This is Friend. It's an open source software and hardware project by Based Hardware. And in essence, it's an always-on, always-listening AI note-taker, which basically just lives around your neck and will help you remember things that have happened during your day, be that a boring work meeting or what your wife has asked you to buy for dinner. For around £70 as well, this could be a really compelling buy for a lot of people. But just how good is it? Well, that's what we're going to find out today as we take a deep dive into Friend AI. Hello everybody, my name is Robert and this is ByteSizeClu. So when it comes to purchasing the hardware, you can actually do it in two main ways. The way that I've done here, where the device is fully built for you. This is going to cost around £70 as it ships from the US. Or alternatively, you can actually buy the parts yourself. There's a parts list and a few simple instructions for how you'll be soldering this together, from the batteries to the board to the switch. Buying it this way is going to save you around £10, but you will have to do the soldering and the flashing of the firmware yourself. For most people, this may not be a problem, but for me, soldering is something that I've never been that great at. As you can see, the hardware is small and simple, and that's mainly because the device itself is pretty simple. Under the hood, there's the main board, some microphones, a Bluetooth module, and a battery. That really is it. There's absolutely no processing happening on this device. It simply lives to record the audio and transfer it to your phone. When the audio files reach your phone, that's when the magic AI happens. The audio files go up to DeepGram, where all of the audio is transcribed into text. These transcriptions can be found within the app at any point and can be read as raw transcriptions. But where the magic really does happen is where AI gets involved. We send this transcription over to chatgpt, where it basically decides if it should pick out some data from this, whether it is relevant information or something that you should remember. It will then create a memory from this transcription and give you a really simple overview of what that conversation was about, a few key takeaway points, and some other useful information through plugins, which we'll talk a little bit about later. You'll find that the whole thing is pretty instantaneous, from actually capturing the audio for it to going up to DeepGram and coming back down in as a transcription will take around 30 seconds. That sounds like quite a lot of a delay. But when you think about it, this thing's capturing audio, it's transferring it, it's sending it up, it's bringing it back down. That is an impressive latency time. And honestly, I don't think you'd need it any quicker than that. So I did talk about plugins. These can basically be thought of as GPTs. They basically augment the answer, giving you slightly more useful information or contextual information based upon a few points that you give it. For example, there is a plugin for finding words that you might not know the meaning of. If there's a particularly long word said in a conversation, this GPT can basically pick it out and give you an exact answer as to what that word means. It's really useful, and creating your own plugins is super easy to do too. There's a whole developer community which I'll link in the description down below if you're interested. One of my biggest issues with this little device though is the AI itself can sometimes be a little bit bullish. It can sometimes decide to just discard information that I think could potentially be useful. And I suppose that's the problem with handing all of this off to an AI. An AI is not perfect and is just going to ignore some data that you might perhaps find useful. You can actually show your discarded transcriptions within the app. You won't get any of that really nice key points or the summaries, but you'll still be able to search it through either the chat system, which is basically just a ChatGPT clone with all of your data, or in the actual chat window. One other issue I've had is the Bluetooth range. This is a pretty cheap and simple board, and the Bluetooth range is pretty awful. Like, I can have it in the device, I can have this device next to me on my computer. I can walk off to the room next door and it will lose connection. It really is that quick and instantaneous and losing connection. And this can be a problem because there is no onboard storage here. So once an audio file is made and it tries to transfer it, if it can't, it just gets lost, and data can get lost pretty quickly. Being an open source project though, if you decide that you need to change these prompts in any way to ensure that you aren't going to just discard information, you can totally do that. All of the source code for the hardware, the software, the Bluetooth protocols and everything is on GitHub. It's all written in Flutter and Dart. It's a language that I don't really know, but I've managed to pick it up quite quickly, and I've even managed to change some of the code to make it a little bit more useful and a slightly less brutal in terms of it deleting data or just discarding data that it thinks it's not going to be useful. But before we continue with this review, I do just want to say that if this is the first time that you're seeing my face on your screen, then 1, lucky you. And 2, go down there, hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload. There are no subscription costs here. Mainly because it's an open source project, you can provide your own keys. This could become quite expensive if you decided to change things, for example using one of DeepGram's more expensive models, or using ChatGPT's faster models. This is all up to you and how you want to use the device. You can just download the Friend AI app from the iOS or Android stores, and this uses just generic keys that based hardware are using. They haven't announced any subscription costs for this. I can't see how they're making money from it, but if you just wanted to use the device and not have to worry about setting up your own accounts, then you can absolutely do that. So this device has been out for around a month, and I've had mine about a week, and I've found it genuinely very, very useful. Basically, I've had this on for 24/7, picking up on every conversation that I've had, be that a work call, or be that chatting with my wife about a concert that we were going to on the weekend. Taylor Swift fans, unite. What I found is it's been so useful at being able to pick out that really important information. For example, I was discussing with her train times of when we should get to the station, what time people come on stage, and then what I could do is that next morning after we discussed it, I had a summary of exactly when we should be getting the train, when certain people were coming on stage, and it just was really useful and felt pretty seamless as well. Every day when you wake up, you'll have an action plan for the day based upon what happened the day before. And it will also break down some key elements from the conversations you've had. For example, were they mostly negative? Or did you use improper language? Or like me, when I was on my work calls, was I just a little bit too unprofessional when chatting? This sort of device, to me, is just becoming a normal part of my life. I've been using a very similar tool on macOS for a little while, and I'll put a video of it up there. I really love the idea, and I think it is super useful. But for some people, there are obvious privacy concerns. Because this thing's always listening, there's no real way to opt out of having audio recorded unless you just turn the thing off. Thankfully, it doesn't categorize people. It can sort of differentiate between one speaker and another, but it doesn't remember names. It can't remember any sort of information like that unless you were to say their name. For example, oh, it's Bob's birthday on the 24th. It would be able to tell you that Bob's birthday is on the 24th, but it wouldn't be able to understand Bob's voice. That's probably a key differentiator there. So with this being out just under a month, you'd expect that there might be a new iteration coming in the next few years, but there isn't. You see, Based Hardware have already announced the Friend 2, which is going to be a little bit cheaper overall. It will be starting at $69, and it is a big upgrade. There will be some onboard storage, so if you do lose connection, it can just upload it later on. There'll be a speaker, there'll be some vibration motors, and up to 6 days of battery life. That is insane, and I genuinely can't wait to get the Friend 2 in for a full review. So there we have it. That is Friend, the AI pendant that is completely open source and incredibly powerful. What do you guys think of it? Is it a privacy concern to you? Is it something that you can see yourself using on a daily basis? Why don't you let me know in the comments section down below, and of course while you're down there as well, get subscribed, share this video with your friends, family and work colleagues just so you can record them too. Anyway guys, my name's been Robert, this has been ByteSizeClu, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.